What we're dealing with is complex psychology, which is there in the next question also. Unwanted weeds, how to remove them without impacting the devotional creeper. I was speaking about how the weeds, the roots under the ground, and they're very complex, and you're trying to pull them out, but sometimes you may damage the original plant also. How do we do that? One thing, we have to go on with devotional service, but we always have to check. Don't get too mental about it. One thing, we are dealing with spiritual psychology. At the same time, we don't want to get too mental. The whole Western world has got too mental. The whole culture has become too mental, in which they're always assessing everyone's performance and always trying to assess everyone's emotional state, and it just, and then the teachers, for instance, they have to do so much of filling up forms to show what they're doing and what everyone's doing. They don't have any time to teach, and the teachers have to be very careful, because the students will give them assessment forms, and the students will assess the teacher's performance. So the teachers, they have to be so careful all the time. Too much psychology in modern society. What do you think, Pundarik Prabhu? Any comment on that?
Well, having been a teacher for 30 years to medical students, you're absolutely correct that you have to be aware that you're giving them what they need, and a little extra if you can, and then you get a nice feedback and you feel good because you've had a nice feedback.
Yeah, you have to always be aware that you have to have you get a good feedback from them, and even if they make errors in the modern teaching ethos, you can't point out, look, this is way off. You can't put pressure on them to improve. You always have to encourage them, and I don't think it's very good for teaching overall. But because I see, for instance, the standard of the English language, you get even. This has been going on for at least 10 years, that professors are complaining that the graduates or the graduate students, they can't even write standard English, which you need in all subjects, with maybe the exception of mathematics. You don't need it much. But you can't get on their case. Listen, come on, this is lousy, you've got to improve. You can't do that because you're not allowed to upset anyone. Anyway, don't get too mental about it. These warnings are there. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Be confident that Krishna will help us if we're sincere. Sincere means that we're here to please Krishna, and we're trying to do that. And we recognize that we have our deficiencies, and we're trying to improve that, but at the same time we shouldn't be so overwhelmed by our deficiencies that we just become totally depressed and think I'm useless. Well, we should think I'm useless, but at the same time we should think that, yeah, I'm useless, but still I have to try and become useful. I have to do I shouldn't stop trying to do service, and I have to pray for mercy.